Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited because today I'm starting a new series on my channel. In honor of us all being on full quarantine mode, I wanted to play around with foundations that I already have and start a new edition of my foundation series. This is going to be Throwback Thursdays foundation reviews. So every Thursday for this month, or maybe however long we're in quarantine, I'm going to do my best to review a throwback foundation. Foundations that were really popular at one point and now, we've moved on to other stuff. So the first foundation that I'm going to be reviewing today is going to be the Makeup Forever HD Stick. Who remembers this baby? We're gonna put this to the test. So I already went ahead and moisturized. I used my Tatcha the Dewy Skin Cream. Love this stuff, especially when my skin's a little bit hydrated. And for primer, I'm just gonna be using my favorite combination at the moment, which is the matte Putty Primer and the Cover FX Grip Primer. I remember when this foundation came out, I was working in Sephora, and I remember people would always come to Makeup Forever because that was like the only brand back then that like had a lot of shades to offer. So I do want to go ahead and pull up some of the info on it because I remember like the obvious things, but I feel like I need to refresh my memory. Remember this being like a foundation that gave you like, especially if you had oily skin, a very dewy finish by the end of the day. So I just want to go ahead and look into that. So you have 20 plus shades, and this foundation does retail for $43. So it's a creamy buildable foundation stick with long-lasting buildable coverage that glides on like second skin. It's full coverage, it's a natural finish, and it's supposed to be great for all different types of skin. So, but it's best suited for normal to dry skin. So I'm gonna go ahead and open this. This is literally a fresh tube that I've had. Well, you guys know the drill. On this side, I do a sponge, and I'm actually using a new sponge this time for foundation reviews. This is the Araceli Beauty Bella Sponge. If you guys haven't heard of Araceli Beauty, they're a Latina-owned brand, and I definitely recommend checking them out, supporting them. This sponge has been like my go-to lately whenever I do use a sponge. It's so nice and bouncy. I still have my e.l.f. one, but I've been giving this one some love because there's something different about the way this feels that I really love. And then on the other side, I'm gonna be using my OG brush that I always use, my JH03 brush. So let's go ahead and do this. Oh, this one may be a little bit darker. I think this was probably like my shade during the summer. This is Y445, so it has that yellow undertone. So I'm gonna take my sponge and just begin blending. Ooh, I remember it blending really easily. This is one of the things that I loved about this foundation was how easily it blended into the skin. I know that with some stick foundations, you have to like really hit that face for it to like all blend in. But you guys can see this like blends perfectly into the skin because the texture is just so nice and creamy that it really does the trick. Now, I remember when I used this foundation, I wanted to love it so much because everybody around me loved it. Like all my coworkers, they love this foundation, but I was like, literally by the end of the day, my skin was so oily. So maybe now that it's been some years and now that my skin isn't necessarily like the most oily everywhere, just in like a certain part of the face, maybe it will lay better. Which is the reason why I'm really excited about these videos, because I feel like it'll give me an opportunity to like go back to some oldies. I think this may be the same color as the newest Reboot Makeup Forever foundation I tried, but I do feel like we are a little bit darker, but I feel like we can always go in with concealer and just kind of make everything a little bit more dimensional. I definitely do feel like this does give me full coverage, but like really healthy full coverage. This does claim to give you a natural skin-like finish. And I'm definitely seeing that. You guys can see right here. You guys can also see that there is some radiance peeking through, which kind of does help people that do have that dry skin because it nourishes and nurtures your skin. And it just sits really nicely. I feel like it like melts right into the skin. That's another thing that I do remember about this foundation is how beautifully it just melted on the skin. So now I'm gonna go ahead and take it on this side. And I have to say it applied really nicely with the sponge. Like the sponge didn't really take away any of the product. I think also because this is a full coverage foundation. So now we're gonna go ahead and go in with our brush. And for this, what I like to do is I like to just stipple it and like bounce it up and down. Look how easily that just blended. That's something that I appreciate about a stick foundation. I can't believe the Sephora sale is next week. It's insane. I have a small list of things that I need, mainly things that I need to repurchase, and then just some few things that I want to try out. I'm still on the fence on whether I want to get the Artist Couture palette. Okay, what are we thinking? I really like how this looks right now. I probably will have to set this area just because I do want that to kind of stay oil-free for longer. I feel like if I don't set it, in a few hours it'll get like even more of a hot mess, but it just looks beautiful. I feel like with the brush it kind of looks a little bit more oil-free than with the sponge. I don't know if you guys are picking that up. Like I feel like this side looks a little bit more radiant, so we'll have to see how that does. But I think everything else looks good. The one thing I remember about this foundation, now that I'm looking at it, because I feel like it's getting a little darker, is that I think this does oxidize. So I'm gonna keep you guys informed on that. I don't know if it was this foundation or if it was the original, the Ultra HD. One of those two oxidized a lot. I'm gonna go ahead and finish off the rest of my makeup. Right now it is 8:32 a.m. and then I'm gonna come back and give you guys my first initial thoughts and everything. So I am back. I finished my entire face of makeup. I do want to point out two things that I feel like made this look come together once we had the foundation on, and that was, the first one was the concealer I use. So I use the Jouer concealer. This is their high cover concealer in Creme Brûlée. And the reason I wanted to use this concealer out of all the concealers that I have is because I feel like this is my most full coverage matte consistency concealer. And I feel like as soon as I apply this, it dries immediately. So it's not one of those concealers that's gonna sit on the skin and kind of give you a radiant finish. Because I do have oily skin, I feel like if I would have paired this specific foundation with a more like luminous looking concealer, it would have been too much luminosity in my face. Now, like I mentioned, I feel like the foundation obviously didn't look greasy on me or anything like where I was like, oh, this is too like dewy looking, but it definitely did have some radiance peeking through, and I feel like if I can combat that and make and prolong the wear of this foundation, I can do it through a concealer that's a little bit more full coverage and more so on the matte side. So I went ahead and did that, and I feel like it blended perfectly into my face. Also, this is a more brightening color, so it is lighter than the foundation, so I feel like it also did a good job of neutralizing all of the face and not having it look so one-dimensional or a little bit darker than the rest of my neck. Once I did that, I did go ahead and set it. I actually today used my Airspun powder, which you guys know I used to always use this powder, and I started using it again because I wanted to dive into other products that I had that I haven't used in a while. So I used this, and what I did was I just went ahead and set directly on the under eye. I went ahead and just dusted off the rest of the powder that I had left up here into the center of my face. So I really focused on this area right here, and then I used any extra on like my T-zone so that I was able to make sure that that was as locked in and oil-free as it possibly could, so that we don't get as oily as we could get if we didn't go ahead and set the face with any type of powder. So that's pretty much, I feel like, what made this foundation look a little bit more oil-free and in place. If you do have oily skin, those would be my recommendations to take for the day. Now, if you do have dry skin, you don't have to do all this stuff. You can use whatever concealer, hydrating, matte one, it doesn't really matter. So now that that's all in place. I think we're looking good. What I do want to go ahead and do, since I have already tried this foundation, now we can kind of test different aspects of it. I want to go ahead and actually set half of my face with my favorite setting spray at the moment. This is the Morphe Matte Setting Spray. Such a good product. So I'm going to set this side, and then this side I'm going to leave be, just so that I can see if there's any big difference by the end of the day. And the reason I'm doing all this stuff is because I've already tried this foundation, so we're kind of just going back to it, throwback version, to see how it performs today. Okay, so I went ahead and sprayed this side, and this side is going to be left alone. So that pretty much concludes this little check-in. So far, so good. I definitely do, first impressions, do like how this is looking. Now it is 9:15 a.m. so we are going to go ahead and carry on for the rest of the day. So far, so good. What are you guys thinking? Let me know down below in the comment section. Hey guys, so I'm back right now. It is noon, and I wanted to do a midday check-in so you guys could see how this foundation is wearing. I have to say, so far, it looks really nice still. How many hours has it been? It's probably been about like 3.5 hours or so. So I think we're holding up really well from the last time you guys saw me. The only thing I am noticing is that I feel like it's kind of accentuating some of my pores, like my enlarged pores in the center of my face. But other than that, I feel like it still looks really nice and in place. It doesn't look like oily and nasty yet, which is definitely a great thing. I'm trying to see if I'm noticing a difference between the area that we set the face with setting spray and the area that we didn't. I'm not seeing anything like major, nothing shocking yet. So I'll see you guys later for my final thoughts. Okay guys, so I am back right now. It is 6:52 p.m. I have to say, it's actually looking pretty good. So this is the side where we went ahead and set it with our Morphe Matte Setting Spray. This is the side where we didn't set it. There's a little tiny bit more dewiness on this side. It's nothing intense though, so like we don't have to like freak out about it. But I have to say, I'm actually really impressed. The last time I wore this, I remember that I liked it the first few hours, and then it just got so oily that I just wasn't digging it. But like I mentioned, I think my skin has changed since then. Because of my rosacea now, I do have kind of more so combination skin. So like my cheeks tend to be more dry than the rest of my face. So I feel like on the cheek area, it's pretty much still in place. As you guys can see, obviously there's a little bit of oil peeking through, like on the smile lines where I typically get oily. But it's not that serious. I feel like I could still go a few more hours, probably till like 9 p.m. and this makeup will still look really nice. I could even take, to show you guys, my sponge and just kind of dab those oils like so, and bam. Like you can see that we were able to kind of wipe away any oiliness we had. If we needed to blot for a few more hours, you guys are seeing that there's no type of product coming off once I did go ahead and dab it with my sponge. So that's a plus. I feel like sometimes what tends to happen is by the 6th or 7th hour, we go in and blot, and then the foundation's already so oily that the products are to separate or come off. And I'm not seeing that whatsoever happening here. One thing I did mention was I was like, I think this may oxidize, and honestly, it still looks like the color that we originally put on. But it's a really nice foundation stick. I'm actually really happy that we're doing the Throwback series because I feel like it takes me back to foundations that I once used, and I can play with them again and kind of mix things up from just using like my typical foundations that I always use. So yeah, I think it looks really nice. For as long as we've worn it, I am really digging this. Looks very, very pretty. So I do recommend you guys check it out, or if you have it in your stash, like perfect time for you to play with this, bring this baby out again. And also the Sephora sale is coming up. I think it starts April 17th all the way through like May 1st. I'm gonna be doing a video for that, for my recommendations and wish list. And I think it ends in May 1st. So it ends on May 1st. So maybe if you wanna check out a new stick foundation, that may be your moment. Thank you guys so much for watching my first episode of my Throwback foundation series. I am so excited to be doing this. I feel like it's gonna be a lot of fun to play with some OGs and just kind of like see where we stand with them a few years later. So give this video a big thumbs up if you're excited to see more Throwback foundations. I am super duper stoked at our first one. It worked. It wasn't a fail. We're feeling good about it. So if you're new to my channel, hi, welcome. My name is Jessica. I hope that you enjoyed this video enough to stick around and become a member family here on YouTube, because I wouldn't want you guys to miss my videos for the world. So hit that subscribe button down below while you're at it. Hit that notification bell, because that will make sure that you are notified as soon as I upload. I wouldn't want you guys to miss any of my videos. So do both of those things. And that being said, I love you guys so much. Stay safe, stay blessed, and stay home. And I'll be seeing you guys very, very soon for a brand new video. Bye, guys.